Hello everybody, my name is Rachel. Welcome to my channel Kalanati. While I'm waiting for my hair to dry this morning, I thought I'd film a tag. This is the Bookish Beginnings Tag. It was originally created by Reads and Daydreams, I believe. And I wasn't technically tagged to do it, but Yamini from The Skeptical Reader has sort of pseudo-tagged me after the fact, and I've been saying I was going to do this for a very long time. So here you go, here's the Bookish Beginnings tag. Question number 1 is tell us what you loved to read as a child, and I mostly read contemporary children's juvenile fiction. I hung out in the juvenile section at my library and I would scan the shelves in the new book section for kids and I would read whatever was there. So I read a lot of what I would call contemporary. I don't remember there being a lot of fantasy for children other than like Andrew Lang's The Olive fairy book. I read all of those. Lots of fairy tale stuff. I do remember reading a lot of Lois Lowry and Phyllis Reynolds Naylor. The Boys and Girls series by Naylor. I think that's the actual name of the series, where this family of like 3 girls and a family of 3 or 4 boys are like neighbors and they're fighting with each other and stuff. I never finished the series because I think I grew out of it before it was finished, but I loved reading that. I really loved Phyllis Reynolds Naylor and a lot of other authors as well that I'm probably completely blanking on right now. Question number 2 is what was the first adult fiction you tried to or want to read? And for me, I'm pretty sure it was Jane Eyre, also possibly Foreigner by C.J. Cherryh and The Left Hand of Darkness by Ursula K. Le Guin, probably a book by Le Guin. On the other hand, unless I actually go and look at my list of things I read when I was around 10, I don't know, I'm just guessing here. But probably close to around those 3. Question number 3 is what was the first classic book that you read that was not because of school? And absolutely Pride and Prejudice, closely followed by Jane Eyre, though I have a hard time saying that I completely read Jane Eyre the first time I read it because I skipped that section in the middle where Jane goes out on the moor and she's starving and hungry and having to like beg people for food. It was so harrowing I couldn't get through it when I was however old, but I did make it all the way through Pride and Prejudice, so we'll say that one. Question number 4 is tell us about a book that made you realize a new favorite genre or writing style. I had an epiphany a couple of years ago when I read Kalpa Imperial by Angelica Gorodischer because that book is very unusual, and when I first started reading it from the very first page, my impression was this is so different from everything I have ever read before. I can never prejudge a book by what I think its writing style is going to be because I'm going to love this even though it is so new to me. And it's made me since then feel a lot better about being adventurous in reading books that I would otherwise consider outside of what I enjoy reading. And I think I mentioned this before in one of my sci-fi recommendation videos, but reading Stories of Your Life and Others by Ted Chiang is also where I had that epiphany that I could read and love short stories and just really get into them. Because I was convinced back in 2013 and 2014 that I was not a short story person, and Ted Chiang taught me otherwise. Question number 5 is what was the first literary prize winner that you read? When I was around 11 or 12, maybe even a little bit younger than that, I'm not sure, I got a list of all of the Newbery Medal or Carnegie Medal winners of their children's book prizes, and I got a list of all the winners for those books up until that point in the early 2000s, and I went to the library and I tried to get as many of them. So things like Carrie Woodlawn, I think, was one of them. The Trumpeter of Krakow was another one. I would never have picked those up and read them except they were on that list. And yeah, I have always made lists of things and tried to read them. Number 6 is what was the first piece of translated fiction that you read or want to read? You're never gonna guess this one. When I was about 14 or 15, my mom brought home this book from the library. My mom was a library cataloger, so she saw all the new books and she cataloged them, she put them into the system at the library, and she often brought home books and was like, Rachel, you'll like this one. That's why I read Christopher Paolini. Rachel, you'll like this one. The author is your age. I was an aspiring writer when I was a teenager. But this time she brought home this book called The Prophecy of the Stones. It was a YA fantasy novel written by a 15-year-old girl at the time. It was originally written in French and then it was translated into like dozens of languages and like sold internationally. And this is what I remember about this book. 1, It was craptastic. It was not written very well, and thinking about it now, I have no idea why a publishing company would pay so much to have it translated into multiple languages. It must have been some sort of hit, and I didn't know. I don't know why. And the second thing is that when I got the book from the library, when I was reading it, there was a massive printing error in the book, and when you hit the middle of the book, it started repeating, so the whole half of the book was missing. I gave it to my mom and I said, I can't finish this. They got a new copy, then I finished it, and to this day I'm still thinking, that was not a very good book. That was really not a good book. The final question is, tell us about why you started Booktube and what it was like to film and upload your first video. I don't like talking about this very much. I'll be really honest about that. I was not in a super good headspace when I started Booktube. It was a personal project to help me with my anxiety. I needed something to absorb hours of my time so I wasn't worrying about myself and my body and all that. And yeah, it takes a lot of time and concentration to film and edit videos, and it was really good for me. But I don't really like talking about the first videos I made. I was not in a great place, and I've taken those videos down since then because I'm a lot happier now, and I just don't like being reminded that those things exist. Like, I've just come a really long way. But there is a story about me filming my first video. I was kind of high on anti-anxiety medication during the afternoon. All of my inhibitions suddenly went away, which is unusual for me, and I decided to film something just to see what it was like. I had edited videos but never myself before, and I just wanted to know what it was like. And I told myself I can film this and edit it, and if I don't like it, I don't have to show it to anybody. And it turned out, I thought, you know what, I can do this. So I posted the video, I sent the link to my dad, and I said, there's no going back now, and he was very proud of me. My parents are both very proud of me. But essentially, I mean, the reason why I started Booktube is that I read a lot of books. I wanted to talk about them. I don't really have friends or people near to me other than my parents who read and want to discuss books. And this was like the community for me, an online community that's very friendly and dominated by women and other bibliophiles, other people reading science fiction and fantasy, and I felt like I would fit in and make friends, and that all happened. So if you're thinking about starting a Booktube channel, you totally should. All right, my hair is still very wet. Oh crap, I've been dripping on books all this time. Whoopsie. Okay, that was the Bookish Beginnings tag. If you want to do this, consider me as the person who tagged you. I hope you have fun with this. I hope you liked having my rambly Monday holiday morning thoughts, and I will talk to you guys again soon. Bye.